Hello there, this is Michał Białecki, and in this snowy winter day, we are going to talk about tuples, C# tuples. Let's start. So a C# tuple is a data structure to hold two or more values. Let's have a look at the code and see how we can start to work with it. So here I have very simple console application written in .NET 6. So to write a tuple, we can do it with new tuple, and we need to define data types. So that would be string and int, and we need to define data. That would be my name and some value. That's it. That's a tuple. So let's use it. I will be using string. It would be interpolated string so that I can pass the variables. Let's say customer. Now I can use a tuple. First item. And here bought something for tuple second item. Let's see if that works. So I'm quickly running the console application and it says customer Michał bought something for 45. Yeah, that works. But I can define a tuple by defining also a name. So instead of a var here, I can use parentheses and have name, no, just a name, and maybe a value. Then I don't need a new, and I don't need to specify the type. I'm just having a tuple. And notice that now the tuple has name and a value. So instead of item 1, I'll see here name and the value. And that works exactly the same. But now I have a named properties. Of course, I said it's a data structure that holds two or more values. So I could add another one. So string surname and maybe something like this. So here you would see name, surname, and value. So by one line definition, you actually can define multiple values, each within a name. Okay, but let's see how we can use it in the real life scenario. Take a look at this code. Let me just grab it. Now, let's see this code. So I have a data defined like this. So I have multiple values with a semicolon, and in the get translation data I want to have a logic that takes this data and chops it into parts, into variables. So what I want to return is a customer name and a value. So I want two values returned from this method. So you can start to get a sense where the tuple will be useful. Let's see what's done inside. So inside, I'm taking the data, I'm splitting with a semicolon. That gives me chunks as an array of string. And the first chunk would be a customer, and the third chunk would be a value. I'm returning a instance of a transaction data class, and use it here. So how can I use a tuple here? Let me just change that translation data into a tuple. That would be a customer and decimal value. And now I have same fields as I had before in my transaction data, but as a tuple. So that's a tuple. Now I need to return it differently. So to return a tuple, I will be using parentheses and now pass variable after variable. So first one would be a customer, that would be chunks first. Second one would be this part and a semicolon. I don't need this part. And notice that I haven't changed the invocation of get transaction data, and it's also have customer and value as the transaction data. But now you see there's 0 references to that class, so I can simply remove it. I can of course check if it works, so it should tell me something like customer bought something. Exactly. So it works exactly same as with the class, but notice that the code is smaller, so it's more concise. I return only things that I need, and I haven't created a class that would be useful only for returning the value from the method. So the tuple for me is really useful when you want to return more than one result from a method, and it actually produces less code. So that's what you need to remember about tuples. You can define tuples with parentheses, return it from a method. You can define it in the code with the new tuple as well, and you can define parameters and give them names as well. So that's it about tuples. Let me know if you have different scenarios when you see that tuple is useful, and if you like it, please thumb up and subscribe to this channel to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and cheers!